Now, KOVR 13 News, the 10 o'clock news continues.
So do you remember what the hot trend was when you were a teenager? Maybe bell-bottoms, platform shoes?
Something tame like that. Well, these days, we're seeing a rise in another peculiar trend, an admiration of vampires. For tonight's special assignment, our Midori Walk takes a close-up look at that trend that in most cases is simple fascination, but in the extreme has proven deadly.
In the movies, vampires are portrayed as blood-sucking killers, evil forces to be feared. But in the eyes of a number of teens today, vampires are admired, respected, even emulated.
I'm drawn to vampires.
It's Gothic night at a Sacramento nightclub. The night vampire clans come out.
The best I can explain it, it's really in-depth and really emotional.
From the outfits to the form of dance, this is almost a celebration of their kinship with vampires.
There's a certain romanticism about them that I really like.
Fascination with vampires and death has become a bizarre trend for many teenagers of today. For some, it stops there with fascination, but others are part of a vampire cult. They say it's a way of life, but in extreme cases, it can result in death.
Is that true? Any comment?
The recent arrest of this teen, Ron Farrell, brought the vampire cult fringe into the public spotlight. In November, he and 4 other teen members of the vampire cult were charged in Florida for bludgeoning to death one of the teenager's parents. The poster child for Farrell and his fellow cult members is the death rock group known as Marilyn Manson. Band members not only sing about death, they look like death. And there are rituals. The extreme side of vampire cults take part in what's called bloodletting. That's right, drinking blood.
Bloodletting is something that a lot of people frown against, but it's a mating ritual. It takes a very special person for me to want to drink their blood or mate with. It's a sexual thing, kind of.
Cult members claim these rituals go on all over the country, including right here in Northern California.
There's a lot of people that end up really bloody by the end of the night, and vampires and biting.
Sound unbelievable? April claims she's seen the wild side of vampire cults. She looks the part herself. But talk to April and other vampire worshippers out on a given night, and you will find another side. A side that isn't into violence, but does harbor an obsession with vampires.
And I would clean out my toy box that was this huge black box, and I would sleep in that.
Joseph says he grew up mimicking coffin sleeping and watching old scare flicks. Now, as an adult, he says he represents a side of vampire clans that embraces death, but doesn't wish for it.
I've got friends that have actually, they've studied, different types of suicide and things like that, and, they basically have made a study out of death. It's not, I guess you call it a morbid fascination. It's not like they want to die, they don't.
On a quiet street, a street like any other in Sacramento, is the Orangevale Grange, a typical meeting hall. But what goes on inside here every Friday night is anything but typical.
No humans aside from ghouls are allowed in the Elysium. Be aware. Be very aware.
Hundreds of vampire admirers gather here to play a game called Masquerade.
Our whole clan is planning on killing them.
A role-playing game where people pretend to be their vampire of choice. Anything goes here, from mock bloodletting to murder plots.
So we need to make sure everybody gets armed tonight. We are going to war.
There are more than 10 organized masquerade games played in the Sacramento area alone. Longtime players say the game is a way to live out a fantasy.
I would say that the kids come here to be a different person. The person that wins, the person that succeeds, the person that is always better. We have a lot of combat that goes on here. I would say that's a lot of aggression they're getting out of their system.
The game we were invited to watch has strict rules for safety, no alcohol and no actual blood drinking. Still, some players have been known to take the game too far. That was the case with teen murder suspect Ron Farrell. These pictures show Farrell playing the game in a cemetery in Kentucky. Cult watchers say that's the potential danger when there's no longer a distinction between fantasy and reality.
You begin to allow the fantasy to grow within you until there comes a time when many of these children can't separate the fantasy role from the game that they play. And I mean, reality and fantasy become so interwoven that they can't tell the difference.
But the majority of these vampire faithful say they haven't lost a grip. The game and the vampire scene is simply an escape.
Basically, I mean, this whole group is nothing more than people who didn't fit in anywhere else. We barely fit together ourselves, so we find common links and we kind of expand on those, and one of those happens to be, vampires and, the color black.
There are many unanswered questions. How harmless is this fascination with vampires? And is it part of our society now, or simply a passing trend? One thing is clear. In a time when more and more teens struggle to find a sense of belonging, many are finding it here in the darker side of life. Midori Wa, KOVR 13 News.
Midori also says that a lot of people say they do not see this as a passing trend, that they've been dressing up like vampires for years, and that they will continue to do so.
Boy.
Boom.
No, pretty odd.